What's going on, everyone? This is your gracious host, The Devil's Advocate, and I'm here to get a conversation flowing and opinions going. So let's get into it. College football season is almost here, you guys. We got less than a month before the season pops off. Let's get it. I think with the 12-team playoff that they're doing now, it's just so much more to look forward to. There's just so many more teams that can possibly land in a playoff spot that you wouldn't expect. I mean, last year we saw teams like SMU, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Indiana. I mean, so many random teams that you wouldn't expect to even land in a playoff spot to begin with. But it's just so cool to see those matchups and potential upsets with the new format that they do. It's just so much player diversity, if you want to call it that, that just makes it more jubilant, just makes football so much more fun to watch. And yes, I did say random teams. I understand if you go to that school, if you go to Indiana, Notre Dame, or SMU, those football teams may not be random to you, but trust me, fans who are attending Ohio State, if you just like to watch Florida, Miami, if you just like to watch Michigan, trust me, these teams are random, and it was random seeing them in the playoffs almost upset the bigger dogs. We actually did see Notre Dame upset Georgia. That was pretty gnarly, but back to my main point, I just think this year and going forward, the 12-team playoff will just add so many layers to each football team's playing ability. I just think so many coaches and players will just have to have a more in-depth game about themselves. It's just so much more. I can't even articulate it, as you can hear right now. I'm having trouble, but it's just more options going forward. I mean, it just almost makes you want to watch just about every football team in the regular season. You know, back then you would only watch pretty much Michigan, Alabama, Ohio, Texas, Ole Miss, who else? Georgia, maybe like a Florida. I don't know who's really good in the West. If y'all know who's really good in the West, let me know. But yeah, it just almost makes you want to. It does make you want to be a Deion Sanders bandwagoner and root for Colorado. I know I will be going for him as well too. But this is to illustrate my point that college football is just getting better every year. So what I want to do in this video is I want to pick the top 12 teams that could land in the playoffs, and I'm pretty much 100% sure these teams could be in the playoffs. And a little bit different from how we're going to do it on this channel, from how they're actually going to do the 12-team playoffs. In the 12-team playoffs, they'll actually have teams that whoever wins their conference automatically gets a spot in the playoffs. So last year we saw we did see Ohio, but not them. They're a big dog. But we saw teams like Indiana and Boise State land there. I'm not going to pick teams like that. I'm only going to pick mostly the big dogs because that's mostly who I see and hear about. So a little disclaimer, this video isn't really my expert advice. I'm no expert. This is just based on my own observations. But guys, get involved. Comment below. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. I want y'all to get involved. I want y'all to break down my opinions. And if you're involved in any of these schools personally, if you work for the athletic department, if you're a football coach, if you're part of the practice squad, I want y'all to jump in this as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here are my top 12 teams that I picked to land in the college football playoffs this coming year. Seeds 1 through 5, you can see they should probably be no surprise to you. Seeds 6 through 7, they're kind of so-so. And 8 through 12 are really the fun ones. Those are the ones I really spend a lot of time deciding. And most of them have no statistical proof, as you could say. Their records haven't been so stellar to where I'm 100% sure they'll land in the playoffs. But I just have a good feeling about them, or they just kind of look good to me going into this year. And so I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to go from the 12th seed, and I'm going to end this video with the top 12 pick. So number 12, we got USC, University of Southern California, not to be mixed up with UCLA. Nothing special that stands out about this team. I mean, I know they've had Caleb Williams a couple years ago, and they still didn't even make the playoffs then, but This, for me, is just a good feeling team. I have a good feeling that they can make the playoffs. I have no doubt they'll have at least a winning record this year, but part of what influences my pick is a lady I met. She went to USC, and this is around the time where I started getting into college football, and Caleb Williams was just the number one dude in the country at the time. And so USC, I still think they can be on the up and up from that year. So, again, just the feeling, there's nothing expert I know about them that just makes me think they will 100% land the playoffs, but they are in here for sure. Number 11, I got North Carolina, UNC, and this is just strictly because of Bill Belichick. For those of you who don't know, Bill Belichick used to coach the New England Patriots. They won so many Super Bowls, I don't know how many, but if you ever heard of Tom Brady, that was Bill Belichick. I'm very optimistic that Bill Belichick can just turn this team into a titan. If he can do that with the New England Patriots, with a bunch of grown men, I believe he can transfer his coaching skills to a bunch of college athletes just itching to go to the league. So imagine that, a bunch of college kids hungrier than someone already in the league to get to the league. That will just make North Carolina dudes play harder. So I'm very optimistic this season. I do think within the next couple years, North Carolina will be part of the top 10 football team conversation. Maybe not all time like Alabama and Georgia, but I do think they're in a good place with Bill Belichick. Number 10, I got Miami. This is just simply because I think they got robbed last year. They should have been in the playoffs with Cam Ward. But, however, Miami's a fun city. If you've ever been, you should go visit. But I know nothing about what they have going on football-wise besides I think Carson Beck is playing for them. And if they got to the playoffs with Carson Beck can surely take Miami to the playoffs. And again, I'm biased. I enjoy the city of Miami. So there's sports teams that do well. I always watching them. So let's go Miami. And for number 9, I have Florida. And this one is just a gut feeling I have with them. There's nothing about them statistically. There's nothing about them offensively or defensively that I've seen that would suggest that they, based on their skill alone, that they can land in a top team playoff spot. Much of this comes from what I saw in basketball. I feel like Florida as a whole can be part of any top team conversation if they wanted to be. But if they just tried a little more with all their programs, they could really just be that school can really just be a juggernaut when it comes to team sports. I mean, they do have, what is it called, IMF Academy by there. But yeah, after what we saw in March Madness this year, and for those of you who don't know what March Madness is, it's basketball. It's the college basketball playoffs, essentially. Florida had several instances where they were down by like double digits. They were in a deep deficit, and they were able to come back and win the game. So imagine if they have that energy for football. We could see many games this season to where Florida could be down by double digits in the fourth quarter maybe, and then just being able to seal the deal. And on the topic of Florida, I know Miami was able to do that with Cam Ward several times where they were down double digits and they just won at the last second. So imagine if Florida carried that same energy they had in March Madness and were just able to fuck around and just land in the playoffs just because of that grit. I do believe Florida has more intangibles going for them more than they do their tangibles. I mean, you can have all the great players together, but if they have no chemistry, I mean, what's the point? So Florida, again, is just a gut feeling I have with them. So we'll see what they do. For number 8, I got Mississippi, and I consistently see them do pretty well. I mean, even when they play Alabama, they don't lose really bad. Ole Miss just kind of seems to be on the same tier, if you could say, as like a Clemson. And I know I don't have Clemson in here, but I thought of Ole Miss before Clemson. So Ole Miss is just another one of those teams that could just wildly do well. They can exceed expectations. And so that's why I have Mississippi as number 8. Number 7, I'm still kind of on cloud 9 from when they got to the finals against Georgia that one year. I'm still on cloud 9 personally from that. That was a great Cinderella story. So I'm thinking they can have another Cinderella story and just get to the top 4 seed. I know I don't have them top 4 here, but TCU is just one of those Midas touch teams in my mind, if you will. So I'm going to end number 7 and number 8 there. Penn State, another one of those teams where you consistently see them do so well. I have no doubt that they'll be in the playoffs for the next 10 years in a row. So I have nothing much to say about them. I'm not affiliated with Pennsylvania at all, but Penn State is just another one of them that are, if you wanted to bet, I would bet on them. So I land my plane with them. Now, number 5, Texas. I know the big deal right now is Arch Manning, but I really want to give props to Quinn Ewers. I thought Quinn has just been pretty marvelous to watch. I know he's not the best, but if he can, I know his leadership would probably stand out more than his actual playing ability. I mean, to go from his first year there, like an 8-4 record, to like I know he won at least 10 games each of the seasons after. I mean, he got to the semis 2 years in a row, so it's looking to be on the up and up still for UT. And I know Arch Manning is just the it guy in Austin, Texas right now. So with their first team being Ohio State, that's a really tall order. That's going to be a shit show. But Texas, I mean, it's just a team that has to be in the top 5 consistently. I would almost go out on a whim to say that for at least the next 5 years, Texas will have to be a top 4 team. So I land my plane with UT there. Number 4, I got Michigan. This is because of the buzz surrounding Bryce Underwood. We're going to assume that he's just that fantastic. We're going to assume that he just blades. He blitzes through people, or his team blitzes through everyone. Not really him because he's a quarterback, but with that being said, we're going to assume that he's just that good. I mean, they didn't even make the playoffs last year, and they still beat Ohio State. So if you can just consistently win and then beat Ohio State your last regular season game of this year, come on now. That's at least a top 4 playoff spot you've landed in. So Michigan is my number 4 pick. I don't take points off their scoreboard as a legacy team just because of them not making the playoffs last year. And now that we got our top 12 teams picked, let's go see what that looks like in the bracket. This is a pretty good-looking bracket, if I do say so myself. I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty psyched at some of the matchups I'm looking at already. I mean, you have first to start it off. I'm not going from left to right. Florida versus Ole Miss. You have 2 SEC teams in the playoffs where the stakes are even higher. That's going to be a damn good game. Miami versus TCU. That's probably my favorite matchup so far on these bottom 4. You have a former Cinderella versus a formerly robbed playoff contending team going at it. That is a great story within itself. And then you have next to it North Carolina versus Penn State. Penn State to me is underrated. I don't hear too many people making noise about them. But I do think at the same time North Carolina has the potential to be an overrated team just because Bill Belichick's on their side. I personally would love to see Penn State just get North Carolina out of there. And then Texas versus USC. That game just sounds posh. There aren't any words I have for them describing that game. That would just be a fun game to look at just for some reason. I don't have high expectations of either team, but I'm going to land it with the first round there. And needless to say, you got your 4 teams with the bye weeks. You got Michigan, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio. I mean, they look like gatekeepers, honestly. They're going to be hard to beat. Whoever wins these first rounds, it's not going to get any easier down the road. So, damn, that's all I have to say about this. And so, guys, I'm going to end it there. In another video coming up, we're going to pick out who actually wins the championship. We're going to pick every team who wins said game up into the championship. That's probably going to come out a few days before the college football season starts. It's around like maybe August 24th. I plan to have that video out. But until then, stay tuned and keep the conversation going below. Please like, please subscribe, please share this video. This is just purely fun. And another disclaimer, I know this format isn't exactly how they do it. I know there'll be some teams in the actual playoffs to where if they win their conference, they'll automatically get like a bye week, and so you'll see those quote unquote lesser tier teams like Arizona State and Boise State be in there as opposed to all the juggernaut teams. But however, again, I just wanted to do this as fun to get something going. So with that, I'm gonna land my plane and Y'all have a good one. Take care. See you in the next one.